Hello, everybody. Long time no see, I suppose. Um, just for the record, as I'm starting this message, I'm just doing one single message right now to go to all of my different classes and all of my different sections instead of recording a whole bunch of individual ones. And so I just kind of point that out because you'll notice as I go through a few of these things, the ones that relate to our course should stand out, make sense, and all of that. But if you hear me talking about something that doesn't come from your course, if you're in one of my classes that doesn't use Mind Tap, don't freak out when I mention Mind Tap and be like, oh my God, did I miss a whole thing from the course? Or if I talk about research papers and we didn't have one in the class, don't freak out. I'm just kind of trying to touch the base of kind of all of my classes so that I can just kind of get this recorded and off to you all in these final hours. So I guess first things first, I wanted to, as I think I did in written messages that I've sent out, I wanted to thank you all so much, not just for the torrent of very thoughtful and kind, well-wishing messages I've received, but also just your understanding and your patience with all of this. Some of you know, if you've been in my classes previously, I've had some failing health issues, and this one was I probably should have been paying better attention, but anyway, it is what it is. It was not a good, there's never a good time for it, but this is particularly bad at the end of the term. So anyway, for what it's worth, all of the inherent guilt that I now have because it did happen, in addition to all the medications that I'm on, have me in a wonderful state for grading, I feel like, at least for you all, because right now I'm just kind of at a place as I'm going through everything. I'm like, this is great. I loved it. Fantastic. So I shouldn't make light of that, but anyway. Okay, so I want to make this as brief as possible, but this is an important one, and I hope that everybody watches this because we are in the final hours now. And, you know, through my various messages and things like that, I've tried to convey that even my default, even in situations where there wasn't this like unexpected emergency thing, my default is always to try and leave things open as long as possible, accommodate as much in the way of people's work and that I can, which is never terribly fun, and it can be very messy at the tail end. But it definitely has allowed a lot of people to improve their situation significantly before we ran out of time. So I think I've mentioned today is Sunday. It's before noon on Sunday. This is kind of the last sprint today. So I know with like the syllabi and some of these various courses, a lot of the finals were supposed to have wrapped up like during the week. And some of the papers and things like that were due early on. And so as I've, again, tried to say through my messages, particularly in lieu of what has happened, that I pushed all those finals out through the weekend here, as well as all of the submissions for whatever work from along the way. And I'm going to come back to that at the end because I got really important, like if you get bored by this and you want to click out, I wouldn't do that until the end or skip forward till the end because I got to make an important point about the grade book and how these things are actually going to work. So, okay, let's start with the exams themselves. That looks different in every one of these different courses, these different sections, but every one of them had a final exam. Every one of them, I pushed that final exam out until tonight. So, the overwhelming majority of you have, of course, already taken them. And if you're all done and you're all wrapped up, congratulations. Well done. If you still have work that's hanging out there, it's entirely up to you about what you would still want to get in, but do know that we have these next hours in which you can get those things in that will still be counted. So I'm trying to focus on the exams right now. Basically, I mean, the same setup as they were prior in our course, except for the one course in which you're doing the essay finals. That one looks a little different than the previous midterms did. But no matter if it's a multiple choice or an essay final, proctored, whatever, they'll all kind of be due tonight, 11:59 p.m., because I have to have final grades in tomorrow. And as I talk through some of these things, you'll maybe start to get a feel for just how much stuff there is that has to be all put together and graded and everything else by that time. So I will definitely need, if you're going to submit anything else, please do it as soon as possible, so that I can try to make sure it gets accounted for and all of that. So where to go from there? I guess I already made mention of MindTap. Again, if I say MindTap and you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, don't worry about it. That's not in our course. But for those of us who are using MindTap in our course as a platform, just a reminder. So all of those scores, as you know, have been kept in the MindTap grade book, right? So on the Cengage platform, that's where your grades for all the assignments, quizzes, things like that have sat. As we move into tomorrow, sometime probably tonight, I'm going to have to take all of those scores, all the points out of MindTap, accumulate them, and basically get them placed up into the Canvas grade book. And so it would behoove everybody at this point, if you have not already done it, to go into your MindTap grade book and make sure the points are there. Make sure the checks, the assignments, the quizzes, that there are scores that are within there. Because I think I told you day one of this term going in, there are some things that are less intuitive about MindTap. And so for what it's worth, just to make sure to give it a good look, almost without fail, I'll be hearing from people saying, where are all my points? I thought I did all the stuff. So, okay, that's my whole plug there, because as I say, I'll have to move those things over. And once I do, those then get calculated into the overall score for the course. And there we go from there. Okay. Next, courses that have large scale projects and papers, big research papers that come along with things. So with those, I've been trying to kind of leave things open. Some of you had to do posters and papers, and some of were papers. And of course, these are the most time consuming and require by far the most work to get through and everything like that. I just wanted to give a heads up. I hate everything about what's happened because of this situation, but this is one of the things I dislike the most, which is, these projects, these papers, have been extremely involved, have lots of moving parts, and in my ideal situation, I'll be going through each of them and not just kind of picking it out and grading it and that sort of a thing, but I would go through with annotations, making comments, suggestions, various things like that along the way, which I know 99% of the folks who go through the course, by the time they would even get a paper back that has all that feedback, they're like, I'm past that, man. I have repressed those memories and I never want to see that thing again. But some people are very interested in getting that specific feedback and parts of the paper, and you understand what I mean. So anyway, short version, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, because of the profoundly crunched period of time in which we have, I guess I say we, but I mean me right now, that I have to have all of those gone through in addition to everything else from every other course. I'm afraid I don't have a choice other than to go through with the rubric, go through and do the grading part of it. It would not be at all possible for me to be able to go through all of those papers and provide substantive feedback throughout. I mean, think about going through just like one of your colleagues' research papers and trying to give them in-depth feedback throughout the entire paper, and kind of what that would look like, and then multiply that by like 80. So, so for what it's worth, I guess what I want to convey is that I will be running through them. I'll be going through with the rubric. I'll be grading them out. You'll of course see that, but I won't be able to include all that kind of feedback. That is not to say, though, that if you desire that feedback, that I cannot provide it. So this is just where I put my plug. Hey, if you fall into the 99% of people who get done with a research course that has a paper like that, and you just never want to see the damn thing again, you don't have to. You did it. You're done. You're free. You have jumped through the big fiery hoop, and that has to feel pretty good. And so if that's the case, then don't worry about a thing. But if you're somebody who, hey, I've worked on this, I put a lot into it, I'd like to get that kind of feedback, just let me know, because I don't want to deprive you of that. And so I can absolutely go to those papers at some point when there's actually the time and resources and whatnot, and still do that. So again, I apologize for that, because it's not ideal, and it's not how I would ever want to do it, but we're kind of forced into a corner here. Let's see, in the courses that have essay finals, I'm going to start going through those today, at least for the ones that I have already received. Again, those can keep coming kind of into tonight. I don't know that I know that I've been messaging with those courses to let them know a little bit more specifically. There was a problem with that one posting too, and so hopefully everybody knows that I pushed that out time-wise as well, to hopefully allow everybody that opportunity. And then just on that topic of finals, going back where I started and to this point, finals across all my courses, you know that with previous exams that I go through them with a fine-tooth comb. I run all the analyses on them. I'll still be doing that as I receive all the exams, which of course, again, is going to be throughout the course of today. So it's going to be a like put on the coffee pot all night long kind of thing, but hey, is what it is. But my point being that in going through those the way that I do, it's entirely probable that you're going to see a little shift in those scores too, once I have the full distribution. And that, if there's room for a curve or an adjustment, I'll definitely be getting that in there. Okay. So the last little kind of, let's tie it all together and put a bow on it thing. So a couple of things I want to emphasize here. And this is again where I say these are the really important ones, because we're literally counting down the hours here. So number one, I know I've said it a gazillion times, but if you are missing work, you can still get it in. I will be, as I say, trying to keep things open as absolutely long as I can for folks. And if you're missing points, missing whatever it might be throughout the term, you still have some time, because I'm, as you've seen probably in the grade book, I'm clawing my way through things, which again comes with another apology. You guys have known that I usually provide a lot of feedback and try to interact on like the discussion forums, for instance, because it's the one place I actually get to do something that resembles, interaction with you all. And once again, because of the circumstances, you've probably seen in these last sections now, I'm just not able to go through and provide a thoughtful response to what you've written. I hate that, and I'm sorry about that. But you should see all those points are piling up in there. So you have time today for whatever it is to get any of those things in. And this is where I need to shift to the second point. This may be obvious to some, but I don't think that it is to all. So this really, really needs to emphasize. Underline this shit put a big highlighter over the top of it, bold-faced, like flashing neon. Um, Understand that if you're missing assignments, like you've missed discussion forums, you've missed quizzes, you've missed whatever it might be throughout our different, it's all different through the different classes, right? But you understand in the grade book, right, there's columns for every kind of an assignment, every kind of paper, every kind of discussion forum. Because I've tried to leave this open for people to have the opportunity to still get work in, what that means is for anybody who has not submitted certain assignments, you just don't have a grade at this point. And that means that it's not counted as a 0 yet. And so if you're looking at whatever course we are in, and you see that right now it lists your final grade, total points, whatever it is at the very end of the grade book, it says, wow, look at you, you're doing great. You got a 93.7%. You have an A in the class, and you're thinking, awesome, I am done. I am out of here. Killed it. Well, maybe. If you have everything turned in and all of the points are there, and that's your percentage or that's your grade, then that is accurate. But if you missed a handful of like discussion forums, or you didn't turn in a quiz, or there was a lab missing, or whatever the case may be, that's been left blank until now. And then as I go into tomorrow, if those things have not shown up, they will become zeros, which means the percentage that you're seeing now, that 93.7%, with all these missing things behind it, all those missing things are going to become zeros, and you know what zeros are going to do to the score for the course. So again, I hope that's obvious to most, but I know that it's not always to everybody. So please understand that if you have missing scores, they're just missing, but they're going to become zeros if they don't end up having a submission in time. So for what it's worth, that's probably enough to throw at you. I know probably almost all of you are like more than 1 foot, 2 feet completely out of this term and fully into spring break. But nevertheless, I really need you to know these things today, because as I'm really plowing into the weeds here today and getting the very last of this done and taken care of, I don't want there to be surprises. I mean, there will be surprises, and I have no doubt there's going to be flurries of panicked emails and everything else happening in the next coming hours. That's just an inevitability every term. But anyway, wrap this up. This is quite long enough already. So if you're in that position where you still have work to do, or you're realizing now, oh, I do have these missing things and I don't want my grade to drop or whatever it is, great. Hop in, work on it, get those things done. We have some time left, and I'm trying to leave that window as wide open as I possibly can. And then, of course, as you're working through things, I'll be working through things. If you need me, if you have questions, if there are problems, whatever it is, of course, reach out. I will try to be as on top of messages as they are flooding in as I possibly can be. Get back to you as fast as I can and get things taken care of, because we are down to the wire. And then for the rest of you who are done, either you have all your stuff in and you're awesome and you're like long gone and everything else, or you don't have everything in, you're just like, at this point, I'm in spring break, I just don't care enough. Well, entirely up to you all. But if you are in that boat, congratulations. Happy spring break. Thank you for, I'd call it a great term, but this has turned into a show here at the end. But thank you for being great. I've thoroughly enjoyed all of you in each of my classes. And I hope you have a wonderful break. It's been a pleasure to get to work with you, and I hope I'll have the opportunity to work with a number of you again down the line. So let's just wrap it up there. All right, everybody. It's been a pleasure. Don't be a stranger. And I wish you all the best. All right. Cheers.